Welcome to This Explainer. I am so incredibly thrilled you're here today because we're looking at a historical figure whose life reads, honestly, exactly like a legendary epic saga. We're talking about Ubaadah ibn As-Saamit, a companion of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now, whether you're a major history buff or just someone who really appreciates incredible leadership, this is a story you absolutely need to know. We're going to map out a life that spanned profound political upheaval, intense battlefield commands, and some seriously high-stakes diplomacy. All right, let's just jump right in. Consider this remarkable statement from Umar ibn al-Khattab, the second caliph of Islam. During the campaign in Egypt, his commander, Amr ibn al-As, was really struggling. The siege was dragging on for years. So Umar writes a letter back, essentially saying that victory requires sincerity, and as reinforcements, he was sending just 4 men. But he explicitly wrote, "I am sending to you 4 individuals, and I have told you that each one of them is equivalent to 1,000 men." And you guessed it, Ubaadah ibn As-Saamit was one of those 4 guys. 1,000. Just pause and think about the sheer psychological and strategic weight that number represents. What kind of person could possibly be evaluated by a head of state as holding the value of 1,000 soldiers? It is an unbelievable metric of human capital. To understand how one single individual reaches that level of influence, we really have to look at his entire track record. So, here is our roadmap for today. We're looking at 5 key areas. 1, equivalent to 1,000. 2, building the first state. 3, loyalty above old alliances. 4, diplomacy in Egypt. And 5, the first naval fleet. Let's start right at the top with Section 1, equivalent to 1,000. Following his timeline, you immediately see this incredible lifelong endurance. He was born in 585 CE in Yathrib, well before the Islamic era. He survives through the pivotal pledges of Al-Aqaba, fights in major campaigns like Egypt, and lives to see the massive expansion of the state until his passing in 655 CE in Jerusalem. Now, as a quick aside, as we go through his life, you're going to notice a deliberate choice we've made for this explainer. We aren't using any drawings of people today. That is out of deep respect for Islamic historical traditions regarding depictions of the companions. But honestly, it works out perfectly, because letting the raw data, his exact actions, and his own powerful words paint the picture gives us something way more vivid than any drawing ever could. Now, what's truly fascinating about his track record is his absolute versatility. He wasn't just some military general out there wielding a sword. He was an early adopter who took immense early risks. He was a deep intellectual, a teacher and a judge in Medina, and later in Syria. The guy narrated at least 181 hadiths. He was a trusted diplomat and eventually a naval pioneer. He literally mastered multiple disciplines of statecraft. Moving right along to Section 2, building the first state. The number 12 here represents a highly elite political core. You see, before the Prophet migrated to Medina, there was the second Bay'ah of Al-Aqaba, a pledge of allegiance that formally laid the absolute groundwork for the first Islamic state. Ubadah was one of only 12 nukubuah, or representatives, chosen to lead and represent their people in this monumental political contract. So he was, quite literally, a founding father of the new society. But his commitment didn't just stay in the political realm, it was immediately tested on the battlefield. Take a look at this famous exchange where the angel Jibreel asks the prophet how they view the warriors who fought at the Battle of Badr, the very first and easily most decisive battle of Islam. The prophet simply replied, "As the best of the Muslims." Ubadah fought at Badr, and Uhud, and the trench. He was always right there on the front lines when the state's survival was on the line, which instantly elevated his rank among his peers. That brings us to Section 3, loyalty above old alliances. Because physical courage is one thing, but moral courage, that's entirely different. This brilliantly illustrates the clash of 2 worlds. Before Islam, Ubadah's clan was allied by a super strict tribal treaty to the Jewish tribe of Banu Qaynuqa. But in the post-Islamic reality, after Banu Qaynuqa committed terrible treachery, publicly humiliating a Muslim woman and murdering a Muslim man who tried to step in and help her, a siege ensued. Ubadah was faced with a massive, life-altering choice. And what did he do? He completely broke his old tribal ties, declaring to the Prophet his absolute loyalty to Allah, his messenger, and the believers. The really crucial point here is how he handled the intense political pressure. When Abdullah ibn Ubay, the head of the hypocrites in Medina, tried to leverage old tribal politics to get special concessions for Banu Qaynuqa, Ubadah supervised their evacuation with unbending resolve. He rebuffed him with this incredibly heavy quote, "O Abul Habab, hearts have changed and Islam has erased those covenants." Boom. His principles simply couldn't be bought by old world networking. Which sets the stage perfectly for Section 4, diplomacy in Egypt. Remember that Umar sent Ubadah to Egypt as the equivalent of 1,000 men to break a brutal stalemate. He was sent as the head of a 10-man delegation to deliver these three unbending foreign policy options to the Byzantine vicegerent of Egypt, Al-Muqawqis. Option 1, accept Islam. Option 2, sign a peace treaty and live as protected non-Muslim citizens, or dhimmis. Option 3, continue fighting. That's it. There was no fourth option. So when Ubadah steps forward to deliver these terms, Al-Muqawqis tries this incredibly crude psychological intimidation tactic. Seeing Ubadah, who is a very muscular, dark-skinned Arab, Al-Muqawqis practically demands, "Take this black man away from me and let someone else come and speak to me." He literally tried to use Ubadah's appearance to dismiss and rattle him. But Ubadah's delegation wasn't having it. They firmly replied that this man was their leader, their wisest, and the best among them. Al-Muqawqis begrudgingly tells Ubadah to speak gently because, honestly, he's alarmed by him. And Ubadah, he masterfully flips the entire psychological attack. He leans right into it. He tells him, "Among my companions whom I left behind are 1,000 men who are all as black as me and even blacker than me and more terrifying to behold." He projects this unshakable, terrifying discipline. He tells the vicegerent that they don't care if they have a heap of gold or a single coin. They only want enough food to ward off hunger, and their ultimate desire is to strive for the sake of Allah. With just a few words, he completely strips away any leverage the wealthy Byzantine ruler thought he had. The result of that showdown, Al-Muqawqis is entirely defeated before a single sword is even swung. He actually turns to his advisors and says, "His appearance alarmed me, but his words alarm me more than his appearance. I think that they are bound to prevail over the entire world." Al-Muqawqis yielded and signed the peace treaty right then and there. Ubadah's diplomatic brilliance saved countless lives and officially secured Egypt for the state. And that brings us to our final chapter, Section 5, the First Naval Fleet. Now here's a genuine historical puzzle for you. How on earth did a desert warrior, someone born in the dry, arid landscape of pre-Islamic Yathrib, end up commanding ships on the sea? It's wild to think about, right? Well, the answer traces back to a really beautiful and profound moment involving Ubadah's wife, Haram, who was the Prophet's maternal aunt. The Prophet woke up smiling in her home one day and shared a dream. He said, "Some people of my ummah were shown to me, sailing on the green sea like kings on thrones." Haram immediately asked the Prophet to pray that she would be among them. And he told her, "You will be among the first ones." Fast forward a few decades, and that exact, incredible prophecy materialized. During the Caliphate of Uthman, the very first Muslim navy was established. Muawiyah led the campaign to Cyprus, and exactly as foretold, Haram accompanied this very first naval expedition, alongside her husband, Ubaadah ibn As-Saamit, who was serving as a commander on the mission. She sadly passed away during this campaign and is actually buried in Cyprus today. Ubadah successfully took charge of the spoils of war, conquering a completely new geographic frontier. So what is the core takeaway of our explainer today? It's this: true leadership is uncompromising principle applied to every new frontier. Ubadah was incredibly adaptable, sure, but his core, it never changed. Whether he was a political founder in Medina, a judge in Syria, a steadfast ally rejecting old tribal corruption, a psychological master diplomat in Egypt, or a naval pioneer in the Mediterranean, his immense value, that worth of 1,000 men, was rooted entirely in his unshakable principles. So I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. What is the one unshakable principle you possess that could make you the equivalent of 1,000? Really think about your own potential to stand firm when you're tested. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer today. Keep learning, keep growing, and I will definitely catch you next time.